Oh, it's so fascinating. It's such a strange institution that it's still the way it is. I used to live like a quarter mile from the Vatican when I lived in Rome.
Oh, no
and
way.
at the time,
What were you doing in Rome?
I was studying there when I was in
Wow.
college. And at the time, I'd like, go on my walk past the Vatican and be like, oh, cool, it's the Vatican. Now I'm like, if we're going to say the Hells Angels are passed through as a church, I would say that if you're just looking at the 14 points, like Scientology is probably much more of a church than they are. So how did that become a thing where they were getting, if I'm in fact remembering that correctly, where Scientology was getting attacked by the government and being told like, hey, you may not be able to be a church anymore?
All I know is they lost their tax exempt status for a little while and then got it back.
Yeah.
I haven't done that much research on Scientology just because it's out there. And I'm like, you know what? I want to focus on like what I would call the legit faiths.
I got you.
Christianity, Islam,
Mormons.
Mormons. The ones that actually, that their founder didn't say, hey, if you want to get rich, start a religion. I don't think, what's his name who founded Mormonism?
Joseph Smith.
I don't think Joseph Smith said that. He might have been thinking it when he pulled up those golden plates.
Yeah, it's some nice golden tablets, but
but he didn't just come out and say it. And so, L. Ron Hubbard said that. He's like, if you want to get rich, start a religion.
All right. Now, going back to what we were talking about with the initiation of the institution, though, you were taking us through the history and how Constantine ends up saying, 10, 15%, my population is Christianity. Looks like those people are people you can look up to. We can use this. We're going to therefore start moving funding towards that. They have the Council of Nicaea. This all ends up becoming a thing. And the Vatican forms. And the Vatican is this like, oh, it's so fascinating. It's such a strange institution that it's still the way it is. I used to live like a quarter mile from the Vatican when I lived in Rome.
Oh, no way.
And at the time,
what were you doing in Rome?
I was studying there when I was in college. And at the time, I'd like, go on my walk past the Vatican and be like, oh, shit, cool, it's the Vatican. Now I'm like, oh, my God, there's so many secrets of the world in there. I wish I knew all that when I was there. But how did the Vatican form out of that? Like, what is the exact history of it forming, post-Council Nicaea? And then how did it continue to be the powerful institution that it clearly still is today? And that's kind of like the head of the snake when you're looking at religious power structures, if you will.
Well, they're not the wealthiest.
I was gonna say that might not be the head anymore of the snake.
Okay.
I can't I'll speak to what I know about the Vatican. So, or what I've gotten to sit with historians. So it's really simple. In 312 or 315, at that point, Constantine's a Christian. And ironically, do you know about his faith conversion?
Refresh me.
So they were in battle, and he believes he saw a cross in the sky with the words "conquer by this." Oh. So let that sink in. He's in war, killing people, and he reads in the sky, "Conquer by the cross."
Jesus liked killing people.
Yeah. So I'm just going to set that out there for Constantine's conversion. But so it's like from what I gather and what I've been told from historians, it's really simple. There's no organized structure right when he becomes a Christian. But hey, if you're the bishop in Rome, Constantine comes to my church now. Oh. So guess what? Like, my church might get a new building. Constantine's going to sit in the front row. We always say good intentions pave the way to hell.
Yes.
It's like you have Constantine sitting in your front pew. Like, all of a sudden your church just becomes the church.
That's great clout.
And then it slowly starts to grow and build. And then flash forward, 1,200 years and you're sitting at the Reformation, and, that's the Vatican's in Rome. And the basilica's built, and all that power just starts to like codify at the top, just over hundreds of years. And so again, good intentions pave the way to hell. I don't think Caesar or Constantine or that early church bishop or whoever it was like had ill intentions. It's just like you said, we build things. I don't think anything we build cannot corrupt eventually.
Right.
And so it became this. It was organic, and then it slowly institutionalized. And that disease, that virus of institution inside Christ's message, culminated in the 1500.
Yeah. And before we get to the actual Protestant Reformation, though, it's come up before on different podcasts in different contexts, but it's always been fascinating to me that the church then also centered around like just all guys running it, when Jesus surrounded himself with both men and women. Obviously, his apostles were all men, but
Yeah.
there was nowhere where he was like, "There's only guys are gonna take my ministry," and yet there's like this boys' club that forms, no pun intended there, with the Vatican that still persists outside of the little bone they throw like nuns these days, you know, but it still persists 1700, 1800 years later, whatever it is. That has never really made sense to me, other than at the beginning, there's something, even if it wasn't intended this way, that's slightly sinister and power grabbing. Am I crazy to make that leap there?
No, I think it's cultural, right? You look back, like women were basically property back then. You know, that's why Christ obsessed about widows, because if you're a widow, you're worthless at that time, right? Like your husband's dead.
Oh.
Your husband is the head of the house of that time period, if that makes sense.
They wouldn't get remarried back then?
Some could, but I mean, like an old 80-year-old woman is just a liability at that point, right? And so, like, same thing with children. You know, orphans, there was no value to life at that time. If my wife had a baby and we couldn't afford it, we'd just throw it on the side of the street and let it die, right? That's what culture was. It was barbarism back then.
Yeah.
And so there wasn't this amazing sense of equality between men and women that there is today. So I just think that's baked into the system too. And then Paul speaks to it in his letters. You know, there's a couple lines in the New Testament in Paul's letters where he speaks about men and women in that power structure. But that's what the entire boys' club has built its tenets on, which is a few lines from Paul. And then what I would more lean on is just what was happening at culture at the time, just like tithing, right? This act of giving 10%, or a tithe translates to 10%. Yep. It's like that was cultural. And somehow
it's cultural.
It's in the Bible. But what I'm saying is this isn't an ordained idea from Yahweh, our creator, if that makes sense. Polytheistic nations were tithing.
Quick question. Why wouldn't it be, if it is in the Bible, and to be clear, I don't agree with tithing, but if it is in the Bible, why isn't it considered ordained?
Well, there's purification rituals. Like, should we be slaughtering animals to this day? Like,
yeah, I mean, I agree.
That's what I'm saying. So, but what I'm saying is there was other cultures of the time that weren't Jewish that were tithing. Polytheistic nations in that region.
Okay.
So think of it as like today, I always say most governments collect a tax, right? Most religions back then, or faiths, collected tithe. And there's really simple ways, because in Israel, it's politics and religion combined. Yeah. The Mosaic laws were their legal structure to organize as a civilization. So today we live in America where religion and politics should be separate. But so tithing back then was more of a taxation. And again, it wasn't just Jewish. Like multiple civilizations were tithing. It was basically taxation. So that's what I'm saying is tithing was a cultural marker, just like inequality between men and women were a cultural marker. And so those have just kind of leaked through religion and Christianity in particular today. Islam collects the same, I think it's 2 or 3%.
Sure.
But they do the same thing, right? It's been cultural, and it's just passed down through precedent.
I guess on a modern day level, at the base level of it, how do you, without forcing people to give tithes or give donations or whatever, how does a church or any religion, don't care what it is, exist and have a physical piece of real estate to go worship in, and, jobs covered so that things get done, and, the events, whether it be a mass or whatever, insert event here, can happen? How does that happen without money?
Oh, it needs money.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So we're not, this is something about the religion business. Money's not inherently bad. I could put $100 bill on the table, and that thing has, the only value of that $100 bill is what you and I give it.
Yeah, if I roll it up and put a little line right there.
Exactly. There is.
Chris looked like he took a trip down memory lane right there.
There is no intrinsic good or bad to that monetary value sitting there. It's just what you and I bring to the table in place on that.
Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.